Hello and welcome back to Red Fox Classics, where we're working again on the 1969 Mk2 GT6. Last time we got a long way into stabilising the front of the bonnet and fitting up some of the new panels, and now we're just going to keep going, so let's go on with it. Right, so I've had another break from this. I've been away and, well, visited family, also gone to Bewley Auto Jumble and bought a lot of stuff. Probably don't need right now, but, you know, might come in. Anyway, can't remember where I got to before, but I think I got to the point where this angle, I think the angle between here and here is correct, but I also think that the D-plate has to be here, or more or less here. It needs to twist in that plane a little bit, but getting close. So what that's leading me to think is actually what needs to happen is this panel and this panel need to move together and kind of twist. The whole thing needs to twist outwards. So that's what I'm going to try. Yeah, so I got a couple. So this is now, the D-plate is now fixed to the wheel arch. Wheel arch is fixed to where it came off of. I've just gone and put a couple more supports in to keep the wheel arch and the D-plate where they are at the moment. And I'm going to cut a couple of these welds and try and make that twist and see what happens. Right, so I've got that twisted, brought this nose up a little bit, but not a huge amount. Well, actually, we can see pretty much exactly how much there. That is 0.5 mil. And it's not very apparent, so I've done more cross measurements and doesn't seem wrong so far. Now this does it looks like we've got not enough overlap here, but this is missing an edge, so this should be about that one's 1/4 inch flange. This is missing. This is about 3/8. Obviously, I've cut this down so it fit inside, which I was wondering if that was the right idea, but I can always add a bit of metal on the edge, not a problem. What doesn't look quite right though is that gap, but all that means is moving this panel down. And what I can actually do, which I haven't managed to think of just till now, is measure from the wheel arch to here, and that will give me an idea of if this is kind of looking right still. But you can see the angle there is looking right. If I shift this down, whatever that is, a finger's width, then it's looking like everything will start to fit quite nicely. Well, this is all going a bit wrong again because I tried to see what having the bonnet tube in looked like. It doesn't fit very well. Sort of inclined to blame it being new, not quite right, but anyway, I think. So the reason I started got the bonnet tube out is because I wanted to kind of see if it's covered up. This slot, this hole was in the right sort of place, because we've got to get the bonnet tube into that, and then the two sort of brackety bits that bolt through the wheel arch. Because I'm trying to figure out if I should modify this panel to bring it down a bit closer to the wheel arch. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it another day. Keep chipping away. So I'm inching ever closer, I think. I've now got this inner panel fixed in, and I think it's probably close to its final place. I think the D-plate is probably also in close to its final place, and the nose from the bonnet. What I think needs to happen is that the wheel arch needs to move, I think, this way a little bit. So what I'm going to go and do next is cut away all of this structure I was using for my initial positioning of this bit, and then bolt on the bonnet tube to this section. Make sure everything I've got here is stabilised to bits that are not the wheel arch, so I'm going to have to take some of these chunks out and then try and manipulate the wheel arch a little bit so it fits the bonnet tube. And if that works, well, I think this corner is successful, and I can actually move on to start fixing things in a bit more properly. Yeah, and there's still some tiny adjustment to do as well. I think this D-plate needs to move in and out a little bit, but that can all be worked on once. Because the important thing now is that we're getting towards having some sort of structure and being able to work from that. So I've got something a bit different to play with just a second. I do keep needing to have a break from the bonnet because I just want to get it right. It means I need to keep stopping and thinking about it. But at I went to Bewley, went to the Auto Jumble at Bewley at the weekend and spotted a couple of number plates. Or rather, first I spotted some digits for sale. And my GT6 came with a raised digit white front number plate, and it'd be quite nice to have that on the rear because that was the period when they were introduced and they were the modern thing. So I've actually since discovered you can buy these new. I thought you couldn't, but whatever. But as we're here, I'm going to see if I can strip down two and make myself one with the right set of letters on. It'll depend on how knackered this backing plate is and whether the letters sort of line up with similar holes and what have you, but it's worth half an hour of playing. I had a quick go at trying to take off some of these star washers and they do not like, well, the plastic bits underneath are not surviving very well, so I'm going to see about destroying them. Anyway, I got the rest stripped off and see how we go. So I did get them all off without breaking any of the digits, which was good. I managed to fling at least exactly two star washers off and hit myself right in the centre of the nose on both times. But looking at it, perhaps too many of the holes in the wrong place. I think by the time I straightened this out, found some reflective material, drilled all the holes, I wonder if it's worth it. Especially as I've noticed the 4 on the original white one that came with the car is broken because it looks like somebody's nudged the car into something. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the let's think about this and come back to it later pile. You can get them apart quite easily, at least. Alright, so you see I got rid of one lot of spaghetti and installed some more. But what the intention of this to do is to hold the D plate and this strengthener in the same place and the nose, and let me try and shift the wheel arch over probably about a centimetre. So let's see if it agrees with that plan. Yeah, so the hope is pop these out, then see how well it will shuffle over. Not very well with that one underneath. I think actually, I remember what I was going to do yesterday. I'm going to take this point away and then try and bolt the hinge on and see what that does. So I'm going to need to do a bit more enforcement, I think, to keep some of these bits in the right place. So there is movement in the wheel arch. It's good. It's just I don't know where it's going to go because I think I need to use the bonnet hinge to kind of determine that. So the bonnet hinge is on, old bonnet tube, and it's looking like we might be there. So I got that tightened up. It has pulled a bit more of a different shape into this wheel arch, which I think is probably all right. I think we're getting towards the stage of if it looks right, it is right. Bonnet tube's in, wheel arch is pulled in. I've been able to, so you know, that sort of distance is very close to that sort of distance. Difficult to measure because of the curves, but it's starting to look right. And of course the bonnet hinge, or bonnet tube, is pulling us to the right sort of place because this angle matches with the bonnet tube, and then that has to match up with the holes in the wheel arch, pull the wheel arch in the right place. I've just tweaked the D plate a little bit so it's come a bit like that. So now, this was the sort of check I was doing, that you know, sits across that plane and goes to that plane. Can't test any further than that. Yeah, and of course, kind of sort of squint at that. Need to find a longer bit of straight something or other. So I think what I want to do next is put the other bonnet tube on. For that I've got to find or clean up some brackets because, oh no, I know where they are. They're in degreaser. Anyway, so I've got to sort myself out with some brackets. That's fine. But get that bolted on and then see what the positioning is going to end up like. So I want it, obviously, this one to come out similar. If that's good, then it'd be a case of stabilising all of this with whatever sort of temporary fastenings are appropriate, and then putting the thing on the car and seeing how it lines up and actually opens and closes, and probably even get out the bumper and put that on to check that that's going to fit, because that's a really good indicator. I think the Spitfire wasn't, but after it had been painted and messed about with, I ended up ovaling some holes in here to get the bumper to fit properly. Anyway, let's get some more holes drilled, and I'll sort out the brackets for that side. Well, that's nice and shiny, but I've kind of gone backwards, I think. So I was trying to fit the bonnet tubes, and they seemed to go on okay, but I was trying to measure, was I able to get this one in the same sort of place as the original one, which I was getting into more or less where it came from based on the witness marks that are still left, because it's all still pretty mucky there. And it didn't look like it. So I was putting the spirit level on, and you know, this one was seeming very low. It wasn't seeming like I was getting in the right place, you know, relative to the rest of the body. So I got the bump. Well, first of all, I got some of the old bumpers out. That one's came on the Spitfire, and actually looking at it closely, it does have a ding in it, which I hadn't noticed. Anyway, that's not, it's not bad, but it's not super straight. This one is the one on the GT6, and you see at the end there, it kicks up, so it's really got twisted at some point. It's also got what looks like accident, yeah. Looks like accident damage there too. So I had to get fortunately I've got a nice re-chromed one that, you know, I've had to get out because it's the right shape. I didn't really want to, because obviously it's nice and shiny and pristine. But anyway, I can get that lined up with the holes in the wings where it's supposed to locate. Get that on this hinge, and then I've bolted this hinge up to the bumper as the reference. And you can see, well, it's possibly a bit difficult for me. I get a better view than me. You can kind of see by our eye that it's roughly the right place. Measures to be about that as well. The actual shape of this repro rod is slightly different, but it looks like I'm getting the important bit where the hinge is actually going to attach in the right place. So then that's looking like actually I need to change where the bend is in this bit and let the whole wheel arch come up, about that much. And then there comes the annoying bit. When I first looked at the Repro bonnet tube, it looked like it wouldn't sit straight along the wheel arch. Well, you're in the same place the other one would. And if you can see there, that's the bonnet tube. It should be there. So I think that bit's the wrong shape. Because if I mean, I can try and force it and kind of pull the wheel arch in, but sitting free, this wing was in, without the support of the wheel arch, the wing sat in a good place, good gap. I don't think that it needs to pull in at all. So I've been at this for weeks now. Like, I keep having to do a little bit, walk away, come back, a little bit more, just keep chipping at it. So what's next? Probably trying to shuffle this. Well, actually, first I'm going to measure everything again, because I had figured out that this was in the right place, and my distances from here to here and so on were right. Yeah, so I'm just going to do more measuring and decide which bit is incorrect. Because one option would be to, if this is actually the right thing, one option would be maybe to cut the bonnet tube somewhere in here and then re-weld it so it actually fits. You insert a little section, because I can cut a chunk of tube out of there and weld that in and reshape it so it fits the car. But I don't know. Yeah, much more thinking is required. Right, so I have done a lot more playing about, but things are looking good now. So first of all, I welded a couple more bits of rod in to secure the D plate in position where it was. Now, what did I do first? First I moved the D plate up so it mated with these locating holes that I made in a previous iteration, because it looked like the whole lot wanted to go up by about that sort of much. Then I was able to clamp it back in place and weld a couple more rods in to keep it in that position. Then I was able to take this out, get the wheel arch positioned against the D plate. I then went and put this back in, and I was actually able to put it back in again in a previous set of holes from some previous iteration of doing this, and then bolt the bonnet tube back to it. And that all then started to line up. The bonnet tube sitting around the wheel arch, the hinges sitting, at least from the bumper's perspective, it looks right. They both look like they're going to work. I've done my crosswise measurements and checking the plane of this is somewhere near the plane of that, as much as we can tell given the wobbly nature. And I've secured it all back in place with all these clee coats. So I've got a little bit more to do. I'm going to put some screws in here instead of these, because I want to now try and put it on the car. And I might weld some bracing between there and there, something like that, just to... It all feels very solid, but we've still got a flex. Actually, we don't have much, do we? Anyway, get it ready to try on the car. Can't do that immediately though, because I only have one of these brackets, and these are the ones that go on this tube that sits between there and the rear of the wheel arches. And I didn't buy one of these when I did my order of the bonnet tube brackets, because I didn't realise they were different. So I'm going to come up with that. I might just make one, see if I can make something, and then one back on. But I don't know how long of an episode this is going to be. I have been weeks at this bonnet. I think it's a good time to stop, because next thing is going to be, well, make a bracket and see what it looks like on the car. So let's do that next time. So what we managed to say is thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, thanks for subscribing. If you're not yet subscribed and you've got this far, please hit that button, and I will see you next time.